Welcome to our podcast and strap in for Movie Monday. Hi, I'm Minky Madison.
And I'm Jack Green.
Today on Movie Monday, we discuss The Darkness, the 2016 horror thriller starring Kevin Sausage. Just kidding. Kevin Bacon. The synopsis is returning from a vacation at the Grand Canyon, a family discovers something sinister has followed them home. What rating did you give it?
I gave it 3 kernels.
I gave it 2. Okay, stop and watch the movie first now or strap in for major spoilers. So, I suppose I'll start with my favorite line. Did you have favorite lines? Because I always have more than you.
No, I don't think I had a favorite line for this.
Okay. I only have 2, but the first one was when the mom is sniffing the toaster and then the rest of the house. And then she said, "What is that smell?" over 50 times. And then the father comes in and starts saying the same sentence. That was kind of long just to say that something smells weird. So it was just funny. And then the second one was when the dad opens the door to the daughter's room and she immediately screams, "Get the hell out." And then his
Yeah.
response to that was bizarre. He's like, "I thought you were asleep. Like, what in the actual hell? Like, why would he be opening her door to go in there if she's asleep?" And I thought it was weird that she didn't even call him on that or like ask, "What do you mean?" or any of that. His normal ritual is going in when she's asleep or something.
Yeah, I guess he was just going in to check on her, maybe. Open the door and look in.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It just seemed weird because she was older. If she was a little kid, I wouldn't even question it, but she's a teenager. So I could be wrong, but I don't think my parents checked on me when I was a teenager in my room just asleep, but maybe they did, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe she's the type to sneak out, and he wanted to make sure she was in.
Oh, that makes sense then. Yeah, I just in my head I'm like there's no reason to do that, but both of those actually are valid. So,
Yeah, just teenagers have a habit of staying up all night, and his daughter obviously had some problems that, we'll get to when discussing the movie.
all right, I'll give it to you. So, since I feel like I've been talking a lot, do you want to start with your pros or cons?
Sure, so I'll start with the cons.
Okay.
Mikey behaves unrealistically after falling into the cave in the beginning scene. He drops the watch. He slides down to get it and falls into this cave. I thought that was really weird. Like I thought he'd be more upset. And I know later in the film you kind of find out that he's autistic. So I mean that could explain some of it.
Yeah.
But I would think even an autistic child would be concerned when they fall through the ground unexpectedly into some medieval cave. So that was one thing was I thought that was unrealistic. And what I found odd was the daughter, she has bulimia, and
Hmm.
they discover that she has all this Tupperware under her bed that she would throw up into.
Right.
And I guess what was odd to me is she purchasing all this Tupperware for that purpose of her own money, or is she using family Tupperware? And I mean, it was packed. There had to have been like
Yeah.
50. I just felt like they would have noticed basically that all their Tupperware's gone missing.
I think it depends on how much your family has, because I know my family had a ton of Tupperware, a ton of stuff like that. And if you're taking it one at a time randomly, I doubt she went up to the kitchen and took half the cupboard at once. You know what I mean? So my guess is she just snuck things here and there. And then maybe she did purchase some on her own. You know what I mean? But for me, that wasn't that unrealistic because I was pretty messy growing up. I would have stacks and stacks of dishes, and she wouldn't realize until I had like half the kitchen in there. And so I don't know. I felt like she had quite a bit, but not enough to me to where it would be obvious. But maybe she was, though. Maybe the mom did realize, and that's what made her think to look in there. Who knows? Oh, no, because she actually saw it happening. That's why she knew.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, she witnessed it, and then she discovered all the Tupperware under her bed. And I guess it was strange for me because one, I thought they would notice that much missing, but maybe not. Maybe they have hundreds of pieces of Tupperware. But why is she? I don't know why she's doing it in that way. It just felt bizarre to me. Like, why not throw up in one and then like wash and clean it at night when no one's around? But to just build up all of this throw up basically was what she was
Oh,
saving.
I don't. So I think maybe that's and maybe I'm wrong here, but I don't think those are all containers of vomit. I think they're all her snacks and all her food that she eats. I got the impression that she it was like her secret stash of food. And I think the mom mentioned something like that as well.
Her
Because it's like
secret, so it's not mom, it's not thrown up food, it's actual real food that hasn't been eaten yet.
yes, that's what I
And,
think.
and
She
she's
was
saving it.
yeah, because wasn't she vomiting in like a grocery bag, it looked like a plastic bag
No,
or
it looked like a Tupperware container to me with a blue
oh,
lid,
okay.
bluish purple lid.
Then I guess it's possible that she was. I don't know why she would stash vomit though. It makes more sense to me that it was just a bunch of snacks that she hadn't got to yet. But I don't know. We could always look and see. Because I'm sure if we were looking for it, we could tell.
Yeah. I don't know. I remember the mom lifts up her comforter and there's all these stacks, but it didn't show you what was in there. Anyway, I
Yeah.
just thought that whole thing was a little strange. I also found it a little amusing that the wife sends video, basically on mythology to the husband at work. And it made me laugh because the video was this in-depth video when she watched it. But then whatever she sent to him was some type of compiled version. And it was compiled in a way that it was made for the movie, but not for an
Yeah.
actual condensed, summary of that video. And it was like it just dove into the deep stuff right away when he plays it, and it's like 30 seconds long, and it's like, and there's Indians, and and they're doing this and that, and the evil spirits. I don't know, it made it amusing to me that she would pick that video to send to him. Um,
Yeah.
if we were residing in the same residence, right, living together, and I was trying to convince you of something, and I didn't really have enough evidence, but then I finally found it, so I send it to you at work, and I send you this very condensed version where all the unbelievable stuff is put into like 15 seconds of video. Um, it's just that's not what you would do if you would want someone to believe you. You wouldn't
Yeah,
take
that
all the crazy stuff and condense it.
that is funny actually. For whatever reason, I didn't catch that at all, but you're right. That would be odd. It didn't even cross my mind that it would be weird to send that to someone at work, but it would because I'm sure your work would see that you watch that in your history and stuff.
And then I love how the boss's wife suddenly knows about Hopi healing. Just
Hmm.
it just was obviously it just felt like a convenient plot point that somehow they're super big into Native American rituals for healing.
Yes, yeah,
Um,
I agree.
because it's kind of a rare thing. So yeah, at least you would think it would be. I like the interaction between the four of them, the couples at dinner, because it was kind of like the husband and the boss versus the wives, and they were like ragging on him and everything, and not believing their story and making fun of it. So it's just funny. So I don't know if that's necessarily a con, but it kind of detracted from the seriousness of the show, and the plot was kind of formulaic. It felt
Yeah.
like a lot of movies I had seen on the supernatural, like Paranormal Activity. It just had a Native American theme. I
Hmm.
hadn't seen that before. But yes, those are my cons, basically. If you want, you can go into your cons now.
Okay. Mine is my pretty typical one, which is it was mostly boring. With things like Mikey having an imaginary friend and the husband cheating on the wife and the family trying to pull themselves together during a supernatural crisis
Hmm.
is pretty typical. And like you said, the rest of it was pretty typical too. Like there was nothing like crazy different to me.
Yeah.
And the wrap up wasn't great either. Just getting
No.
someone who knows bells to come to the house and send them away was pretty run of the mill. So the ending was pretty lame, which is a big part of it. Like some movies, even if I don't really like them too much, if the ending is really good, I usually feel better about the movie, you know. But this one, the ending even was pretty lame. So
I can definitely appreciate that.
yeah. And then I think the children had more depth than the parents, which would be fine if it was based around them, but I felt like it was mostly focused on the parents, so it wasn't enough that they did a good job on the kids. Because for me, there wasn't really enough for me to care about either of the parents. I'm just kind of watching these people's lives I don't care about. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I didn't think they had enough there.
Oh, well, they tried to do some stuff with she had a drinking problem, he had a problem of infidelity in the past, and so they went on that vacation in the beginning, kind of bring them closer and closer to the family.
Yeah, but I guess for me, like the cheating husband is not to me anymore kind of a unique thing because I feel like almost every movie has a cheating husband or a cheating wife or you know what I
Well,
mean? So I feel like, hmm,
I didn't say it was unique, but I'm just saying they did try to build depth to the characters. That was the argument I was making. Not that it was necessarily unique or done
yeah.
well,
Oh,
but they
I
did
just
try.
mean to me that's not a character building thing, but I that's just my opinion though.
I mean, it's better than nothing. Like, but it's definitely
That's
not
true.
super in depth.
Yeah,
But you're looking at a runtime of what, an hour and a half around that.
that's true.
Um, they were going more for a carefree supernatural film rather than a deep dive like some films have done.
Yeah.
I think they intended to do that. It just wasn't satisfying because the source material wasn't unique itself.
That's true. Yeah, if it was more interesting and there was more stuff going on, I probably wouldn't be as worried about that. But since it wasn't, I was mostly focused on that, so I felt like it was lacking.
I think that probably was what happened. But I do agree with you that they're not super well developed characters, but they're traditionally not in these type of films that I find. But it makes up for it in terms of special effects and story.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, actually, because I think you're right. It's not like horror movies are well known for these really in-depth characters for the most
And
part.
if they do, it can be really good. Like they can become very classic films. If the idea is really unique and then they build the characters with that.
See, and that's what I felt like Hereditary did really well.
Well, there you go. That's really great. It's hard to do though. You only have 50% of the equation, and
Hmm.
you'll do okay. But in this case, they didn't have 50% on either side, story or characters.
And that was all my concept.
And I did have a question. Like, I was basically wondering why when Mikey goes to the grandmom's house,
Hmm.
there's a huge scene there with the snake, and he hurts the cat. But I just felt like I don't know where all that came from. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't have
Yeah.
an explanation for it. If it was like a blessed house or there was some provocation, but there really wasn't. I mean, you had the evil spirits with him all the time because he was carrying the stones around. But it really amped up when he went to her house, and there didn't seem to be a clear reason. Just a woman with a cat. I don't get it. The snake appeared immediately,
Hmm.
and he's going to hurt the cat. She has like a stroke or something, and then they have to go to the hospital. Like I don't know. It really amped it up very quickly for no seeming reason. But that's just my opinion. It felt rushed. Like I think they just wanted to shoehorn that scene in there, basically.
Well, they did kind of explain it later with the animals.
No, I
Um,
know where the animals came from. Like I get that, but why? Why then? Why didn't the snake appear at his own house? What was the
I think
provocation?
I think what you said, they did want to have a moment of surprise because it did seem kind of rushed. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean that scene was less than 30 seconds, probably. You know what I mean? You're going to your grandma's. He goes into their kitchen. The cat looks at him weird. He puts the bag down with the stones in it. The cat runs away. She's talking to him, but he's not listening, and he chases the cat. The door flies shut. And then all of a sudden there's a snake on the counter, and she screams. It really was like a minute to 30 second scene.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was unnecessary, unless there was an actual real purpose to it, other than there's evil stones and
Well, I think it's more like what you were saying that the spirits are following him. And so he just happened to be at his grandma's when that happened because they did have other animals, which I get into that with my pros. They have the other animals coming. I feel like the snake was the first one though, so I think that's probably why it was surprising. But maybe at a certain point of the stones being released, they gain power, maybe, and so then now they have enough to start releasing these
yeah,
manifestations. So
it's possible. I mean, I believe the crow was the first one on the car when the father opens the garage door on top of the car. There's like a crow there,
yeah,
but I don't know. See, the power thing, I could get on board with that. The problem I have is with the source of the power was the stones and then his wall, which was becoming a portal to the other
hmm
side. Now, but this was at the grandma's house, so we have this really outrageous incident away from the portal. You know what I mean? Away from the house where all this energy is building up.
yeah. I didn't even think about that because I don't know that it's coming out of the portal though, so maybe that's why. Because
The
I get what you're
stones.
saying, but now that I think about it, it was more made at the end to do like the final ritual or something, and I don't feel like the animals are actually directly coming out of that, or that would make more sense to me.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's not a big deal. I'm nitpicking, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Just the scene was just bizarre for me. I felt bad for the cat.
Yeah, the cat. It's always something with the cat, poor cats.
So if you want, I
But
can go into my pros on what I actually liked.
yeah, please do.
I liked how it opened with the cool mountain setting and the storm clouds overhead as they're driving away. I just liked that change of pace because it was a nice way to start the movie. I liked how they did some of the special effects. They do a type of scene in horror and suspense movies where someone pulls open a door and they're looking in the fridge or they're looking in a closet, and then they close the door and something's there to scare them, and scare the audience. Like
Hmm.
it's a ghost or it's whatever. In this, the sister is opening the fridge, get a drink, something like that, and she closes it and there's nothing there, but then she sees a reflection in the microwave, I believe, next to the door. And so you get your scare there. They did a little something different, which I like to see. The film had, like I said, it had a good runtime, about an hour and a half. It was good pacing. I didn't feel bored with it. Cliche, but it wasn't boring. There's a difference for me, at least. I also like the special effects of the handprint at the end on the daughter. Because her closet door kind of creaks open, and all of a sudden these handprints fly all over her face and on the walls and everything. That was cool. I hadn't really seen that before. Oh, and by the way, I don't know if you picked up on it. You probably didn't because you're not familiar with the TV series Gotham. But the autistic child, he plays Batman in the Gotham TV series.
Oh, really? The kid in this did?
Yeah, and this film
Oh.
was made years ago, but it didn't come out until recently. And that happens with a lot of movies. The child's very young in this, and he's much older in Gotham. Yet this is a newer film.
That's so weird. Are you serious?
Yeah, you can take a look at Gotham first few episodes.
This came out in 2016. When did Gotham come out?
Oh, I'm not honestly sure, but it was on for about 5 seasons, and it finished up the series like a year or two ago.
Yeah, and he must be older if he's playing Batman.
Yeah, exactly. So he looked, well, some of it's, I guess, how they dress him and makeup and everything, but he looked a lot younger here. So it was just ironic that this came out a few years
Yeah.
ago, but he looks so
It's weird
young.
how that happens.
Yeah, a lot of movies are made and they get put into a bank. They're on hold for years before they actually get released for whatever
That's got to
reason.
be disappointing for the actors who want to see the movie.
Yeah, I've seen some interviews where they're like, I make a movie and then I don't get to see it, get critic reception of it or anything for years until it actually comes out. So yeah, but there was something to like about this. Hence the 3 kernel rating. So you can go into your praise if you'd like.
Okay, so one of my pros is that they did give Stephanie, the daughter, some depth. Because initially it was funny that she was so high strung and kept having meltdowns on everyone over the smallest things. But then later they revealed that she's bulimic, like we talked about, and hiding it. So that explained why she was so emotional and she was
Yeah.
going through more than it appeared to be. So then it wasn't
Hmm.
funny. You're like, oh wow. And I think they did a good job building the son as well. I thought it was good that they showed the different disorders and how they struggled with them and how the parents tried to help and that type of thing. And I thought it was kind of neat, but also sad when the ground collapsed beneath Mikey at the Grand Canyon and then he landed in that underground tunnel that led to the cavern.
Yeah.
Because he's autistic and because she was supposed to watch him, it was worrying that he was there alone and that happened, you know? But then he handled it like a champ, like you said, which is semi unbelievable. But and the mural on the wall and the stone platform with the rocks and everything was intriguing. And he did manage to find his way back to his family without them even realizing. And
Hmm.
he didn't talk the whole movie, right? So I don't think he talks. Or
No,
maybe
yeah. He says a couple words the whole movie. That's pretty much it.
okay, because yeah, you would think that he would mention it to them, but he didn't say anything. Like they had no idea that it even happened until way later. So that was surprising. And when Mikey tried to kill the grandmother, like you pointed out, that was out of nowhere and was surprising. But for me, I actually liked that. But for me, it was also really boring. So that was something that I didn't expect. So it was interesting to me. So I think that's why I liked it. So realisticness with the rest of the plot, maybe it was, you know, out of nowhere and didn't really fit. But because I was kind of looking for something to enjoy, I did like it. And I like snakes. So although it wasn't super unique, I did like the snake appearing in the bedroom and the story behind it of like we kind of talked about the animals that the darkness priest represented and
Hmm.
manifested
Yeah.
back into the world because Mikey had taken the stones out of the cavern and the trap was no longer holding them there, I guess. And so once they fully release, then they're able to, I guess, torment everyone because my understanding was they torment the one person and then get that person to torment other people until they either commit suicide or go mad themselves, right?
Yep. That was the premise.
Okay, so yeah, I did like that, even though, like you said, it's not very special.
Original. Yeah.
Yeah, original. And then two other things that I did like was when Stephanie woke up with the neighbor's crazy dog on top of her in the middle of the night while she was sleeping. Because that would be terrifying in real life and unexpected because they don't even have a dog themselves. So that would
Well,
be
I don't believe that was a dog. I believe that was one of the animals. So it was a
yeah,
coyote.
that's what I was gonna add. I believe you find out it's not actually the neighbor's dog at all, and it was the wolf, which was one of the animals of the priest. So I thought that made it more interesting because initially they think it's the neighbor's dog because they're always yelling about the neighbor's dog. Remember being uh,
Hmm.
getting in their yard and whatever they're doing. So yeah, I thought that was a good tie-in that they brought, the animals from the thing into it because he was all mad at the neighbor and it wasn't even the neighbor's dog's fault.
Yeah, I
And
felt bad because it was taken away from the guy, and
yeah,
so I hope they didn't put it down. But
yeah, I never think that's fair, especially in a situation where you can't prove it's one way or the other. Because in
yeah,
this case, it really wasn't his dog, so that's sad.
they couldn't produce documentation that the dog had received its shots, then they probably would put it down.
Oh, is that how that works? I guess that makes sense because then they could get rabies or something.
Yeah, if they've been inoculated, against certain things, then I think it's okay. Then it's just an issue of can they have the dog. But yeah, if they don't have their shots and everything, they got to presume that it could and is infected. And the only way to confirm that would be to do brain surgery or brain dissection. So
Is it possible to treat someone that's been bitten by a dog that you're not sure of without confirming that it is?
yeah, they would have to go through a series of shots immediately, like for rabies. If they even suspect that you contracted rabies, they put you through a series of painful, and numerous shots because if once it gets past a certain point, it's fatal, and nothing can be done.
Is it dangerous to take those shots if it turns out that you don't have it? Because I feel like for me, apart from like actually being mauled to death by a dog who's obviously crazy, but like if it's just a dog that, because some dogs are just have moments where they're not really friendly or whatever, you know what I mean? So I don't necessarily think a dog deserves to lose his life because he bit me, say. So if it wasn't so bad and if it turns out you don't have it, for me, I think it would be worth getting the shots and letting the dog live if that will save you anyway, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't think that those shots will hurt you if you don't have it. It's just a precaution in case you do. But not everyone's going to want to do that because they're expensive and they're painful, and you have to get them over a series of days, I believe. It's not just the one. It's like a week worth of shots, like a couple each day or something.
That's sad.
Yeah, I'm not really too familiar with it, but I'm sorry. I think I had interrupted you. You were going through your.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say that. I did think it was interesting when they had Mikey burn his wall to create that mini ritual station that we were talking about. So to me, that was kind of a pro just because it was interesting. But yeah, other than
Yeah.
that, there wasn't much to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I enjoyed it more than you, I think. But I think there was something there for everyone. It's just something to watch if nothing else is on.
hmm
When you're flipping through, I think it would be sufficient for that purpose. Now, if you're leading up to a Friday night and you want a really great movie for a group of people, I would not
I
select
probably
that.
choose this.
Um, no, but yeah, a Saturday afternoon or something and you're bored, definitely well worth a watch. It kind of had a cautionary parent's tale message throughout the movie, which is be careful if you're a parent and you're not involved in your child's life. They could be harboring secrets that are festering. And he even admitted that that was part of their marriage problem. He said, I don't notice things. He's working all the time. So that was kind of brought up. And when you're working all the time and you're in a strained marriage, you might not notice that your daughter has an eating problem because they aren't going to hide it from you.
Right.
And you're not going to know your son brought home some evil stones from your last vacation. You would think with an autistic child they wouldn't give him that much privacy, but apparently they did. They never once looked in the bag that he had. They just assumed that he would never do anything to put anything in his bag that didn't belong there. I feel like that was a cautionary tale. Watch your kids,
Yeah.
because really, if they had been watching him, none of that would have ever happened.
Yeah,
That's
because
definitely yeah.
the I mean, he played with those stones quite a bit in his room, I think.
Yeah, so that's my point. Like they weren't really watching him all the
Yeah.
time. And I mean, he burned a hole in the wall. Like, he really,
That's when the dad was like, "Hey, wait a minute. There's
yeah,
fire."
that snapped him into
Yeah.
action. He's like, I can let him get away with certain things, but burning the house down is not one of them. I like how the boss is a jerk and he, won't admit the truth. He's like, by the way, psychics are total crap and everything, but I did use one that actually worked. He's like, you just got to go along with it. I don't know. He had a really weird way of being not confirming, but yet suggesting at the same time that this is a
I
good
wonder
group.
if he did that as like a pride thing, because let's say he recommends this guy, and then what do you call him? His employee believes him, and then it's totally fake, like it doesn't work or anything. You would think less of your boss, right? Like, wow, he just had me split with this
Yeah,
lady. So maybe it was like a protection thing.
I think it was a protection thing for his ego. He doesn't like to admit anything he can't control or completely understand. Um,
Yeah.
he has like a control issue, and he's a high level executive, which that's one thing. But when he threw the intern at Kevin Bacon, he's basically saying, "Here, have sex with this woman when you already had marital problems with your wife." That did you pick up on that?
That's funny. Yeah, no.
He said
You're right.
that in the bar. He was saying, "I threw her right in your path," basically saying he
That's
deliberately
funny.
put him in that situation. So
I
yeah,
don't
I don't know,
think I heard that line for some reason.
but of course he's a good guy and he doesn't succumb to temptation. But just funny. And they had to have this ego thing where they were all like throughout the movie they were all petting his ego basically. Because you had the intern that was like, "I'm such a fan of your work," basically saying he's a legend of planning or whatever it is he did. And his wife in the hotel room does the same thing. She's like, "When I was younger, I first started dating, I admired you so much." So I don't know. It felt a little weird. Um,
Yeah.
it looks like he manages real estate. Like I don't know what he does. It never made it very clear. You'd think he's like Steve Jobs or something.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's I always say that's a good point. I need a new one. But yeah.
It just didn't fit with what he did. Like it was too self-congratulatory for his character, and I don't know why. Like it never really made that clear. Just that everyone loves him and wants to sleep with him and admire him.
And
You
there's
know what I
no
mean?
real reason for it. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no real reason for it. And the daughter preferred him. Like she thought he was the better parent. I don't know. It's just
Maybe the dad just wasn't as involved, so he wasn't as on her about things.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's exactly what it was. But I mean, I guess that makes more sense that she preferred him. But everything else, like saying he's amazing, I don't. There's no real reason for that. Yeah, that I
Yeah.
could detect. So yeah, I don't know. It was okay. Talking about it, I think actually lowered my rating of it.
That's so funny.
Um, it left a good impact initially after watching, but the more I think about it, um, the worse it gets. So when that thought, this is a film less is more. So don't think about it. Just enjoy it for what it is and don't question it.
Never look back.
Yeah, don't glance twice at this film. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you have anything to add.
No. No, I do not.
All right. Well, you heard it here first. Watch the film, but don't invest yourself too heavily in it, because it wasn't as well thought out as you would hope.
Yeah, or expect it to be the worst movie on the planet, and then you might enjoy it.
Yeah, that's one way of doing it. But that's probably why it was direct to streaming services instead of in theaters.
Maybe that's why they set it aside for so long. They're like, wow, we just made a terrible movie.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, for all we know,
I,
it could have been filmed around the same time as a lot of these movies. So they were saving it for when it could be more original. But people were tired of that theme by the time this came around, and then it didn't do well.
because you said they hold on to movies so long, so some of the stuff that we didn't like about this, right, could have actually been original at the time that it was made, but by the time it was ready, other stuff had done it already. I didn't even think about that. That's messed up if that's the case with certain things.
Yeah, that would be sad if this was like before Paranormal Activity 1, before The Conjuring. Yeah, like if this was before all these movies, basically.
Yeah.
It's like having a genius product and not releasing it until after all these other products have done it already. So it makes it seem like you're copying when you're actually the innovator.
Right. But you would think that they would have released it then if that was the case, so there must have been something holding them back, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case with this film, but it would be sad if it was.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's happened to somebody's movie at some point.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Lone Food Media.